So in this video, I just want to go over the intro hook and lick for Undivided Heart. It comes from the Worship Initiative. We just introduced it here in mid-2025. This one's been a lot of fun to put together. It's very simplistic overall in the way that they write their songs, and so it kind of makes it easy for us to turn around quickly once we know their main hooks and how they're getting to where they're going in the song. So I was just going to run through a kind of a version of that hook and lick that we were able to come up with and reproduce, and then kind of give you the sound going from a dry sound to a wet sound, and then I can go to what I consider my production sound. So the main portion of this lick, the best way I was able to achieve it was to bar my E, my B, and my G string. And I bar that right off of the 10th fret, and then we are going to literally just walk up the scale is all we're going to do. So let me go to my clean tone real quick, my clean dry. That way you guys can just kind of hear it. I'll explain it as I move through it, and then we'll just kind of add a little bit more to it as we go. So it's going to be barred off the 10th. So essentially, playing this, we have D. Then we're going to move up to our B string on the A. I'm going to hammer on that B. And then I'm going to move right up to the G on the G string. And that's the first portion of that hook. So let me play it with the hammer on in there so you can hear it. And that is that first main hook. Now right after that, what they're going to do is you have just that short rest right after that, and you go into A on the B string, B on the B string, and then you're going to come up and you're going to hit E on the G string. So you're going to go to that 9th fret. So let me add a little bit of like a clean wet tone to that so you can hear it a little bit more, with a little bit of this is going to have some delay on it. This is going to have, I essentially am running 2 delays right now, dual delays, and then I'm running 3 reverbs on this just on the clean. And that'll allow you to go into your verse and kind of the free liberty to move through the verse however you feel, and whatever you feel that fits for the time and the day and how the set's going to move. Now let me kind of, before we move forward, I'll give you what I would consider my production tone, which is off of my bass set. And really what I've added to this now is for a little bit more sustain. I added an 808 screamer on there, and that just brings a lot of sustain to it, especially with the way I have this set up with the reverb and the delays and the pickups that I have. And so this would be considered essentially the production tone. And so with that is the intro lick. Now this will be utilized multiple times if you would like to. We use the intro, obviously, that we start right off that 4 as we come into it. The next time that we will use that intro lick will be right before the chorus. If you want to throw it in, we throw it in right at the end of that verse. It leads us into the chorus on that 4 before we hit the down strum of that chorus. And so each time we enter the chorus, we throw it in. It's also thrown in at the very end as an outro. It just kind of depends on where we're going to go with that song. Are we going to enter into a new song, or is this going to be the end of the set, or is this going to be a time where we need to kill everything off and switch keys? And so that's going to kind of play a role into how we move about that as well. And as we move forward, I will get into the chorus and the bridge, and then I can get into my pedal setup as well. So moving into the course on Undivided, they bring a pretty simple outlook towards this. There's multiple ways that you can do it. One of the easiest ways that I had found was just to go ahead and leave this barred, because I'm going to be coming off of the lick, which is the first portion of the hook for the intro. And I throw that in as I'm moving in, which allows me to settle my middle finger onto that 12th fret on the G string and my ring finger on the 12th fret of the B string. And I'm going to alternate between that into a pattern such as this. And so we alternate through that pattern until we come back into the intro hook and lick that is going to go in either to the next verse, or if you're going into the bridge, then we will move into that section, but it doesn't actually throw an intro hook there because we are going to switch down to the D chord as we start to move into that bridge section. So moving into the bridge section of Undivided, there really isn't any particular hook or lick. One of the things that we found out when we introduced this recently in mid-25 was it does follow a different chord pattern than what the official charts show. And so it is following a D to A minor to C, and then we go to the G, and that will show the intro to the bridge, but that remains the same progression throughout as we just go from that G all the way back to the D, and we follow that up, and we follow that through the bridge. And that can be however you want to approach that, whether it be swells, ambience, whether you have another pattern that you would like to play in that area. It really leaves a lot open for interpretation during that, as the first two lines we tend to kind of build through, and then after that it starts to really build and we break back into the chorus itself.
One, two, intro, 2, 3, 4. Chorus, bass,
So onto the approach and the tonal approach for the song itself. I did set this up to be more of a single coil. I felt that my humbuckers and my semi-hollow really wasn't producing the sound that I was looking for. So I went with the telly and then just tried to brighten it up a little bit with some of the setup that I have. I am using to give it a specific sound, a US Super as far as my preamp. And then as I go down, I have my 410s US Super and my 412 Who Watt 100s that are in here from the Helix itself. Also, I'm running a plate reverb, I'm running a cave reverb, I'm running a hot springs reverb, and then I'm running a quarter delay as well as a dotted eighth, which is a transistor and a tape delay on those, which is what's allowing it to kind of bring out some of the the longer delay patterns, so it fills in on some of the repetitive parts, as well as the way that I have the US Super set up. I'm playing more into the sonic space in the higher end and not really dabbling down into the lower end of the chords or into the sounds itself, where a lot of other people in the bass are going to be. And that's how I developed the sound for this one. This one currently is sitting at a beats per minute of around 66. And one of the things that I've learned is just to sync all of my bridge, my intros, and everything. I used to kind of do some variable speeds through that and tap tempos, and I would multiply the tap tempos. And I'm starting to learn that, especially with this song, just to go simple, and I just kept it all at 66 through all of the snapshots themselves.